Good morning, everybody. Well, sadly, we're not back in the hall. I'm sorry. But we have got Sports Week this week, which is very exciting. And we have got Sports Day on Friday. I hope you've all watched the video that I asked your teachers to play before this assembly. If you haven't, now is the time to stop this and just go and watch the video link I sent you. Because that was a race, the 5,000 metres women's race, that took place in the last Olympic Games in 2016, which were held in Rio. And two of those athletes who'd been training really hard for so many years had a trip and they fell over, didn't they? And you saw what happened. And that must have been such a sad moment for them. But we'll come back to that in a minute. I don't know how you're feeling about Sports Week. Some of you will be really excited because you love sports. Put your hand up if you love sports. Some of you will be dreading it. Some of you will be thinking, oh, I hate sports day. I'm rubbish. I can't do anything. I can't run. I can't catch a ball. I used to be a bit like that. I used to hate sports day. I was quite good at high jump because I was one of the tallest people in my class. But I never used to get very excited about it. I used to get quite nervous. And everyone's got different feelings about sports, haven't they? You've all heard of Mo Farah, I'm sure. He's one of our British athletes, and he often talks about the emotions that he feels before he enters into a race. He too feels nervous and excited. And lots of athletes often talk about feeling worried that they perhaps won't do the best after all the training they have put in. Now, if you're going to go into the Olympics, you have to train for many years. So that accident that occurred in that 5,000 meter race was must have been quite devastating for those ladies who were injured because they finished the race and they obviously didn't win. They were way behind everybody else, but they were allowed to enter the finals. They weren't disqualified because of their accident. They were allowed to enter the finals, but one of them, the one you saw at the end there, she was unable to because her knee was very badly damaged. So she was unable to actually join in the race. But they were both given an Olympic award at the end of it. They were both given the Olympic Fair Play Award, and they were praised for their sportsmanship and Olympic spirit. And did you see how they helped each other? They helped each other and they encouraged each other. And I did read about that, and I'll just tell you what was said between them. One of them, the one who got up, said, "Come on, don't give up. We must finish this race. We'll do it together." And that's a great attitude, isn't it? We can't always win. Sometimes life goes wrong, and Reverend Jane's going to be talking a little bit more about that on Wednesday. But they both injured themselves. They both wanted to finish the race, and they both managed to do it. Sometimes we think of life as a race. St. Paul in the Bible wrote about winning the race and running the race and not giving up. There's a verse when he wrote to someone called Timothy. He says this: I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. He's kept going. Paul knew the importance of finishing what he was doing. And Christians believe that what Paul meant by these words, that he had lived his life the way that God wanted him to. Paul had travelled all around the Roman Empire teaching people about God. The Olympic Games were taking place even when Paul was alive, so people would understand what it meant to run races and cross the finishing line. Paul's race hadn't always been easy. He'd been through some tough times in order to teach people about God. You might remember some of the stories from Open the Book. He'd been put in prison. He'd been shipwrecked. He'd been disliked by many people. He'd even been sentenced to death. His race to teach people about God had been really difficult, and there were many times when he'd been tempted to give up. However, just like the athletes in the YouTube video, Paul carried on with his race so he could finish well. Sports Day isn't just about winning, it's about taking part and the attitude with which we compete. Some of us love sport, some of us don't, but we can all try our best and we can all help, support, and encourage each other as we take part. Those two women we saw didn't win Olympic medals, but they did win that Fair Play Award. They showed sportsmanship, they showed compassion for one another, and having those attitudes during a sports competition is actually much more important than winning a race. So during Sports Day on Friday, during Sports Week, whatever we're doing, let's be like those two athletes. Let's be like Paul from the Bible. Let's not give up if we're not winning. Let's keep going, because the main thing is to finish the race well and feel proud of our achievements. And that goes through life as well. Our year sixes are coming to the end of their time in St. Nicholas. Let's hope that they can say they finished the race well. They finished their school life at St. Nick's well. They've kept going and they should be very proud of all that they have achieved while they have been here. And as each of you go up into the next year, may you each feel proud of what you've achieved this year over what has been probably one of the hardest years that you and your families and the school have ever had to go through. So hold your head up high, be proud of yourselves, and the most important thing, to keep going. I'm going to say a prayer now, and if you want to make it your prayer, you can say Amen at the end with me. Dear God, thank you that we all have different abilities and talents. Help us to be grateful for what we have. Help us not to be jealous of others. Help us to keep trying when we find something difficult. Help us to encourage each other and help us to enjoy our sports days. Amen. Have a good week and enjoy all the sport that you're doing, and be grateful for the fact that we have these amazing bodies and we can do so many things with them. I'll see you soon.